It's safe to say that Model Aircraft Database continues to enhance the model aircraft landscape for collectors. Today, we're going to be taking a look at an analyzation tab that really breaks down all kinds of different components of your collection. This is going to be super exciting, and I'm really eager to learn about my collection. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started, everybody. Alrighty everybody, so welcome to Model Aircraft Database, and today, like I said, we're going to be diving in and analyzing my entire collection. So Mabby has a new premium feature that is really cool, and it's a very affordable price as well, but pretty much what it does is there's so many different features like the value of your collection, so on and so forth. But today I really wanted to focus here on the collection analyzation because it's certainly really interesting, and I looked through this for the first time yesterday, and I thought it was pretty fascinating to learn about all the matrix and components of my fleet, and I certainly thought that all of you would find it interesting. I certainly learned quite a bit, and it's certainly really interesting to see, how it's progressed and what's going on. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So Mabby is able to take all of your non-custom models, which is any die-cast, release pretty much, that's not shapeways or so forth, and it breaks it down by all the matrix that are put in. So again, a huge thank you to the Model Aircraft Database team for making this a reality. There's over 50,000 aircraft in here, so I can't not appreciate how amazing their effort is and what they've done to make this a reality. So with that being said, let's just go ahead and appreciate that and continue to push it here as we have a really cool deep dive to do here on my collection. So first and foremost, you can start here. Pretty much you just go over to my collection, and then it has a tab here to analyze when you have the feature on there. So I'll go ahead and click on that analyze button. And then as you can see here, it brings you over to this tab here where you're going to find, your entire collection. And I'll just show you all once again. This video is a little outdated now. It came out over a year ago, but you can certainly see with all those aircraft, right, it would be tough to count them up and, so on and so forth, distribute them correctly. But technology is such an asset, and no doubt for this project right here, as we can get a much better look here at all of what's going on. So I'm going to zoom this in just a little bit for you all here if I can. Let me see if I can get this going here. I'm trying to. Sorry about that, everybody. There we go. Okay. So a little bit closer now. Now you can see it a little bit better. So you have the seven different continents, and you have the map version, the pie charts, bars, and tables here. So as you can see right here, this is a high-level overview of my airlines and where they're from. So as you can see, I have 626 aircraft in the United States, which is a pretty good way to start out this entire analysis because that's going to be the theme, is I have so many planes from the US, but I do have some others. I have 124 from other regions that are not Canada or US, and I have 22 from Canada. But you can also hover over it and it tells you the percentage as well. So over 80% of my aircraft, so every 4 out of 5 are from the United States, which is really crazy to think about. 16% there from others, and then about 3% from Canada. So it's kind of crazy to think about that. As for my airline distribution, American Airlines, as expected, the mainline American Airlines is nearly 25% of my fleet, which is crazy. And then you can see American Eagle, the subsidiary, is 4%. So if you put these together, we're sitting at about 28% American Airlines in my fleet, 213 planes, which is a huge portion of it, about a fifth. And then you can also see over here, we got Southwest at 66, United and Delta neck and neck here at 55 and 56, and their regional counterparts are down here as well with 17 each. You also have 17 for Frontier, and you got 18 for JetBlue, and I have 27 Alaska. So thank you to the Alaska Company Store for making that a reality. So that's pretty fun as well. And 286 others, so about a third of my fleet are not one of these. So pretty fascinating. And once again, you do have the different tabs. Here's a bar chart lineup of that, which is nice if you're wanting individual particular ones. You can see I have a few from Mexico, so on and so forth. And then down here as we move the list. And then for the table, this gives you the percentage breakdown just a little bit easier to see. And then once again, same song, second verse over here gives you distribution. And then you also have the tables and so forth. So I think this is really helpful and certainly a great way to look at it. And you can also hover over and it shows you by continent, which is cool. You can see Europe's my biggest one, and then Asia, and then the US, and then you have obviously these other countries. So that's pretty cool. It's not just airlines though. We can do this in about any different way. Let's go ahead and take a look at the aircraft types. I really like this pie chart. This is a really good way to break it down. And I applaud the Mabby team for utilizing this method to break it down. So you can see here, over about half my fleet is Boeing aircraft. I have 371 of those. And then about a fourth of it is Airbus. I have 200, and then the others are pretty evenly distributed over here. So as you can see, I have 371, and then each tab that you go down shows you a different sector of the aircraft. So obviously I have 25% of my airplanes are Boeing 737s, which is pretty impressive. But on top, you can see how why this line is so big here. And then if I go over here, only 2% are Boeing 727s. That's 2%. So you can see here how this starts to break down. You can start to get a feel for it. So let's go with the biggest one, 737, and then it breaks it down as particular as you can get it. So for example, let's go over here to the Boeing 737 Max. I have 38 of those in that family. And as you can see here, I have 29 Max 8s, and then very small tabs over here. I have one Max 7, and then one Max 200, and one Max 10. And then over here, I have 6 Max 9. So you can start to really get an idea of how this breaks down. 27 37 Classics, and 16 of those are 733s. And then you can see over here, we got a couple 734s, and it gets even more particular as you have 734F and 734 Passenger, which is super cool. But then over here, 727 Freighter, I have 2 of those, for example, and 10 727-200s. So you can really start to get an idea of how this breaks down. It's certainly interesting. 19 747s, 50 757s, 29 76s, 26 777s. I have quite a few 78s, 31 of those, and then quite a few Dash 9s, but I do have a couple of others, 4 and 5 each. And then you see over here, I have 47 Bombardier CRJ 900s, and then my other Bombardier is, I believe, going to be this one right here, if I can get it. Let's see. The Challenger 300 by Net, or 600, sorry, by NetJets fits in right there, which is pretty cool. But you can see this gets all the way down to the CRJ 700 and so on and so forth down here. The CRJ 552, which is really cool that it breaks it down that particularly. We have some Convair's in there. We have, let's see, double S's, DC3s, DC8s. You got the Embraer 170s, and we got the 140s as well, and the 190s. You got some Lockheed aircraft in here as well. At the McDonnell double S's, plenty of MD-80s, which is pretty fun, and it breaks it down by 82 and 83s. If we bounce over here, you can see the Airbus family is extensive. We got 13 A220s, 4 A310s. We have or A300s, obviously. We have 150 Airbus A320 family aircraft, so 19 A320s, 57 A320, A320 family, and then obviously you have the A321, and that's broken down by 22 A319s. We got 6 with sharklets, 12 A320s with sharklets, just 30 normal A320s, 15 A320 Neos, 11 A321s, 23 A321s with sharklets, and somehow 27 A321 Neos. I was surprised to see that. You got some A330s in here, 18 of those, and you got 5 A340s, 13 A350s, and 8 A380s as well. And there's very little tab here, 2 Antonovs in both scales. And then we got a 707, or you got to get it right on the mark there. You miss it, so it's pretty fun. But you got a 707 in there, so plenty of fun in there, and that's certainly a really good chart. So I think that they did a really good job with that. You also have it by this graph too, which I think is really helpful if you're looking for just a list view of it. So you can see here, the 738 is my most common aircraft. I got 47 of those, then 30 A320s, 29 MAX 8s, 27 A321 Neos, that surprised me, and then 26 737-700s, 752s. You obviously start to go down the list. My most common wide bodies, Boeing 787-9. And we just keep going down the list. We got the Embraer 145 down here, and it appears the 175, not a surprising fact here. That's my most common regional. That's pretty cool. We got the 777-300 on here. You got the MD-83, and it just continues to go down. So it's pretty cool and definitely a nice view of it. Here's the percentage view as well. And then the tree map, you know, if you would like to look at it this way, it's obviously sized by what's the biggest. So that's pretty cool. But I think the pie chart's definitely the most unique way to look at it, and it's nicely broken down. By production, this is another very fascinating tab here. You can see that Gemini Jets rules my collection. 430 of my 766 are Gemini Jets aircraft, which is pretty cool. So there's that, over 55%. So definitely a huge portion. NG does have about 20% market share here in my collection at 151. Aero Classics 48, and then Phoenix 33, Panda 22. I have more Pandas than JC. How about that? JC 17, and then I have plenty of other manufacturers as well. And then as you can see here, 90% of my collection is 1 to 400. It's not too surprising, but my 1 to 200 fleet's grown pretty substantially. It's 7% now, 53 aircraft. I also thought this chart was really cool. That's 85% of my aircraft are metal. Then you obviously have quite a few unknowns and then some plastics in here too. So that's pretty fascinating. And yeah, there's a couple different ways to break it down. Here's this list chart here. And the bar and table charts are really good if you're trying to get particulars about what you have for your manufacturers. As you can see here, even Attitude Models is particularly designated, and then, you know, even my wing lux and so forth, and all these different brands, 3D Design Deck, Star Jets, you know, all of it's really broken down well. And then here's that chart too. So it all looks really nice, and I certainly think it's quite helpful to have it broken down. And then you can click any of these tabs, by the way, and it'll show you what those aircraft are. This is really helpful. Like what, let's go back to my bar chart. Or I think can you do it off this tab? Yeah, this is my 3D Design Deck. What I have the 2 Apollo American 737s. I don't even know this brand. What Rise Sun aircraft do I have? Rise Soon. Oh yeah, the AHA and the Boeing House 777. I didn't even know that that was what they were. Let's see, what Skymarks aircraft do I have? And it's really cool that you can break it down so particularly. And again, I applaud the Mabby team for making this so convenient and easy. And obviously, you do pay a price for it, but the way that the technology functions certainly, I think, makes it worth it. By acquisition, you can see here, this is approximately what the value was when I paid for an aircraft, so a couple in the hundreds, but this is like their retail cost. You can go in here and insert it manually, and as I was hinting at earlier, you can get a value for your collection, but several of mine were gifts, and I don't know exactly all of them. I have a good idea, but obviously not down to a detail. But anyway, you can see that there. And then there was another cool chart about the date. Let me see if I can find that, because it is really cool to see, because all of this was listed. Obviously, I don't have when I got it, so obviously that would influence it. But somewhere on here, if I can find where it was, you can see it by when you, here it is down here. I just didn't scroll. So this is every release here, and I thought this was certainly pretty fascinating. So you can see I have aircraft dating back to 1985, and I have quite a few from 2001. That was a big year for Gemini, 2004, 2007, and then obviously pretty consistent there until we get to 2013 when I started collecting. You can see that I started to slowly but surely get releases from those years, and then it really started to pick up in 2019 and 20. You can see that solid boost to 2018, 19, and then obviously I took off here with my collection as I started to have more resources and so forth. My peak year as of right now is 2022. I have 105 releases from that year, and I don't think this is because I've collected less. I think this is because I've been going to collectible shows and finding different releases that are not from recent releases. I also feel like this was a heavy fleet build bulk up time in my collection, and there was just so many good releases that I was able to capitalize on that time frame. And then as you can see here, obviously 2024 is not quite done yet, but I'm hoping it'll be closer to up here. So yeah, 58. So definitely a lower year in terms of new releases. And then I'm still collecting 2025s as we speak, but I only have 7 of those currently in the fleet, but I have a long list. So, and I need to go back to 2024. There's still a couple aircraft that I would like to pick up from that year. So I'm hoping this will get closer to the 71 from 2020. So it's obviously a work in progress. It takes time, but this is kind of what we're looking like right now. But this doesn't reflect that my collecting is going down. This just reflects that it's been a different way of collecting, but 22 will probably be the peak. I'd be impressed if I got back to 105. Who knows though? There's been a bunch of great releases, so I won't put it off the table for sure. And yeah, just making sure I didn't miss any tabs, but it really is a great way to break it all down. And certainly really helpful if you're looking to find your dominant portion of your collection. I think all the tabs really, add some tremendous value and so forth, and I think that's irreplaceable. So it's certainly really fascinating, and I was really eager to learn about all this. So feel free to let me know what you all think in the comments below. I was certainly really happy to learn about all this, and overall, I certainly think that it really contributed well to my fleet and what's going on with it. So again, I really hope all of you enjoyed this. Thank you all so much for watching today's video. Definitely consider checking out the Mabby Premium feature. As you can see here, you can get, if you put in your cost, you can get a cost analysis and so forth, and you can even showcase aircraft and so forth too, which is pretty cool. So there's a bunch of really cool functions with the database, and you can also just analyze the entire database if you want to as well. It breaks it all down, so it's pretty cool, and certainly it's going to take a while to load there, so I'll just go ahead and bounce it back over to mine. But anyway, it's certainly very cool, and the features are really awesome. So I would recommend checking it out. Mabby is doing a great job, and still incredible that there's so many free features, and definitely want to, dedicate the time to contribute to, obviously, the premium subscription, considering, how vital it is. So with that being said, that'll do for today's video, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. Take it easy, everybody. Stay safe. Trust process. Do you love and love you do. My name is CM Aviation. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all soon as CM Aviation is signing off.